it's hard because you're making like all these sacrifices, and you're just like, I hope that like she could see all that, So I think like as a mom, you kind of like think about like, is this like really what you want to do? And like, just watching her there, and you're like, why can't she have like a normal childhood? So it is like, it does like kind of like mess with you in a way.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of How to Copy and Steal. Today, we're sitting down with two old friends. Honestly, I think they're both superstars. I first met one of them, and I just like it was cold outreach. Way back in probably like I think it was 2021 or 2020, maybe. But yeah, today we are here with Sew Loka. Claudia and Manny Bazinski, or what I like to call bees on skis.
Yes.
Yeah, we are here with the power couple. Manny, can I have you just stand a little bit front? You're right there. You go.
What's up? Dude, we're so
much,
happy to
man.
be here.
Yeah.
This is so fucking amazing. Thank you both. Thank you both.
Thank you. Today is a little mix of an episode. As you guys probably know, Priscilla and I started a podcast called This Wasn't Planned. And I also brought back How to Copy and Steal. I feel like today's episode is going to be a little bit of a mix of both. I want to talk about creativity, but I also want to talk about parenting. Like, as you guys may not know, Priscilla and I are about to be first-time parents, and
Congratulations.
Manny and Claudia have been leading the way and acting as inspiration for us as to like how to take this on, but still maintain running a business and thriving while doing it. And also, might I add, like raising a badass child, like a badass in terms of like, I think Ice is badass. Every time I've seen her, she's seemed pretty damn independent. And she's just awesome. She has her personality, and you can tell that she really looks up to you both. And I adore that love. I would only hope to have that kind of love from my child. So thank you guys for
it will come. It will come.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
And it goes in stages. Like they love you one day, moody the next, but so there's definitely a spectrum, but it's a blessing. It's a total blessing, and you guys are going to do an awesome job.
Thank you.
So we're super excited for both of you.
Thank you. Today's whole setup is like, I would say none of this was planned besides the date and time. I just wanted to have like a loose conversation. But how we're starting off the How to Copy and Steal podcast as of late is I'm asking people, when you hear the words copy and steal, what does that mean to you? Go.
Okay. To me, like it is one of those things where it's like, everyone could sew, right? Like, well, not everyone could sew, but there's a lot of people that could sew, and there's a lot of people that are recycling and repurposing and all that kind of stuff. And so for me, it really just means like, how can I make this like me?
Mm-hmm.
How can I make it into like something that I would want to wear? Because if I'm not wearing it, or I wouldn't wear it, I shouldn't be making it, And so it's really like utilizing the things that I have to just make it something original for me. Okay. So I feel like that's, what I think about when,
Inspiration is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's everywhere. You just can't be afraid to take that inspiration and run with it however you put your spin on it. I think that's the most important part, to take everyone's inspiration, but then to use that little thing inside of you that only you have to put your little twist on it, and then it becomes something totally different. So that's what I look at the copy and steal. I don't look at it in a negative context. I look at it in the context of, oh my God, I'm being constantly inspired by everyone around me. Everyone around me. And we can't look at it like, oh, this was my idea, this is that idea. It's a big atmosphere of ideas, and we're all grabbing and trying to put our own little spin on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you guys do, and so that's what inspires all of us. So
I like to think of it like, if anything, like we're all connected back to like the original idea, which is probably like the original just spark of consciousness and whatever the first human being was.
For sure,
exactly.
And we've all just kind of like built upon that, from cave drawings to agriculture to other things, and these things have just like led us into this very complex world that we live in today, where, you know, you can, you know, start a living off of just loving something so much. Like, we live in such a special world where someone can love Pokemon so much and just create a business around Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be Pokemon in general. It could be Pokemon cards specifically, or Pokemon collectibles.
They're
Like,
just creating their own little universe around Pokemon.
right?
But that's just the opportunity of these days that we live in, that everybody can kind of create their own little universe.
Yeah. Yeah. I always like to talk about like your beginning story, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm ever like telling people, you guys started as a tailor shop, right? And then you pivoted. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
So originally our whole idea for Sew Loka was we wanted to have a collective of different artists.
Okay.
And so we're like, we'll showcase all of our friends, you know, and
This was since day one?
this was since day one. So
Okay.
that was 2013, and it was like Sew Loka Artisan Collective. And so, you know, because I was doing a lot of like markets and getting to meet other artists. And so I was like, if I have a space, I want to be able to have other people's stuff in there. And so we weren't in a very we didn't have a lot of foot traffic in that location.
Where was
And
this location?
it was in Bankers Hill.
Okay.
And so we were just kind of, you know, like opening the door, and like people would come in and they wouldn't buy stuff. And I was like, okay. And so I knew that I could sew and like tailor things and all that kind of stuff. And so my sewing machine was set up, and people would come in and I would be like, yeah, we also do tailoring. And I think it was maybe like a year in, people were like, can you tailor this for me? And I was like, sure. And so most of the people that were coming in, they were bypassing all of the merchandise and all the product that we had in there, and they were going directly to the back to get stuff tailored. And so for me, I was like, well, we should change the model of the business, because no one's coming in to buy anything. It's just basically people are coming in to have a service, you know?
Yeah.
So we changed it, and we were tailoring a lot, doing like custom sewing, tailoring, and then like 3 years ago, right, we transitioned into like starting our own brand.
Okay.
So yeah,
Because COVID hit and everything like that, we were kind of forced to, you know, because nobody was coming in for tailoring anymore.
I think it's crazy that like you guys would pivot and back to like a similar place to where you were at.
The beginning.
I know. I
Like,
know.
Like almost people like would learn their like people would be afraid to do that because they'd be like, no, like I already fucking failed.
The
Like,
problem in the beginning is because we didn't have credibility. So it's hard to just come to San Diego, open up an artisan store, and have people come and just buy stuff
and
off the bat.
It wasn't only your stuff that you were selling, right?
No, it was I think we had about like 15 different artists,
Mhm.
you know, and it was really difficult, you know, because it's like you know, there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just about like having like a really nice store and a well curated selection of artists. It's also like the marketing that goes into it. And so I felt really bad just kind of being like, hey, we're going to transition into doing this. And so we ended up just doing custom sewing and tailoring for about we did it for 7 years, right?
Even though for most of those 7 years, she was talking about like, I'm going to start my brand. I'm going to start my brand. Every year it was like, it's going to be a kid's brand. It's going to be this. So, but then it got to be like almost 7 years deep. And then that's when COVID hit, it was like, you know, this is the only time it's ever going to be able to happen. Like we would just be talking about it if that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Like how you planted the seed, and like by the time you had time to pivot, like the roots were strong. Like,
oh yeah. And it was so crazy because right, I think it was like November, I was like just so like I just kind of felt like a tool, you know, and especially like doing like sewing for other people and tailoring and you know, you're basically working with designers and they feel like they're designing like the greatest thing, and you're just kind of like, I would never do this.
Wait,
and
you
so,
would fix other people's designs? Like it wasn't even like
I was doing like
I want
prototypes.
to fix my jacket. It was what?
Like I was doing full like lines for people, and and then
did you have bylines? Like where did you get like any sort of ownership in any of the work that you did?
I had like I had one opportunity where this girl was like, you could really like, you know, if you buy in with this, you could really, and I was like, oh, okay. And I was just kind of like, cool, you know, like I was like, I'm not interested, you know, and but it taught me a lot, you know, and I was just kind of like, I didn't want to feel like a tool. Like I've always been really creative since like I was a kid, and I was like, people are coming to me for this essential skill of being able to like produce a line and like I'm the middleman.
Yeah.
And like, why am I not doing this, you know? And so I think it was like November, December, and I was like really like almost like like complaining about it too much, and Manny was like, oh God, just do it, you know, or make time for it, you know. And so, and then like the whole world shut down, and I was like, we really took that opportunity to basically be like, well, you know, we did like a bunch of masks during the time and all that kind of stuff, gave them away. And then there was like a moment where I was like, what have I always wanted to make right now? And like I just started documenting the process of like what I've always wanted to make, you know. And
do you have like the first thing framed somewhere, or did you sell it?
I think this is like the first thing that I like ever made.
That shirt you're wearing right now?
Yeah. Holy shit. Just because, you know, we had just gotten the embroidery machine, and I was like, let me just like embroider something. And so it looks like so raw and everything. And I just, I was really just so excited to just get it going. And it was a lot of fun. You know, it's a lot of fun to just kind of like put yourself out there and see like what can happen.
And that embroidery machine was a huge part of starting the brand and everything like that, because that's been our biggest purchase, but that's been our best investment, and we were able to only purchase that with the donations that we received from the masks. That's and pretty much almost to the exact dollar amount of what we received, we put it right back into getting that embroidery machine. And then it was, remember, it was like such a huge like thing at the time, like how are we going to afford it? It's almost as much as a car, you know. But then we bought it, and then that's what it was able to like, I think, separate her, where she was able to like separate her brand a little bit, because she was also doing the embroidery, you know. So I think that was a huge part of it, at least in my eyes. That damn fucking embroidery machine was like,
I know,
that's
it was
so essential.
Cool. I love seeing like the overlap, and I'm now like connecting the overlap. So like for Alex, who I just interviewed in the last episode, for him it was a laser cutter. You get me? He got that, and it kind of just unlocked him. For me, it was buying Ecamm. I bought Ecamm on my birthday. And as soon as I opened it up and realized how powerful it was, I was like, holy shit, like these are essentially like TV shows. Like I'm creating a sports center for a client at the time, like their own little sports center. So I think it's crazy how like, you know, and it's kind of scary to say this sometimes, like you don't want people to like go out there and be like, oh, well, I just got to buy the thing and like it'll happen. Like work was definitely happening prior to that. You knew how to sew, you knew how to do those things. I wonder, like, what is like when is it a good time to tell someone to like go ahead and take that leap and invest in yourself, and do that thing? You get me? Like, do you guys have any advice for someone who's probably in that state?
I always hesitate to give advice. Because we're always constantly learning, you know. So it's just, you know, and then sometimes it's just best to say to someone just to do it, you know. But everyone's different.
I think so. For me, like I was doing like the sewing, and then I had a job, right? Like when I was still living in LA, and I really like was very, very committed to basically saying like, hey, if you want to do this thing, you have to, and if you're going to work for someone else, you also have to put in that time for yourself, you know, and just being like very dedicated to what you want. Because for us, it's like we show up for ourselves, like, and we'll show up where it's like we're probably here until like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, but we get it done, you know, which sometimes isn't like the best and the most sustainable thing to do. But it's like you really have to come through for yourself, and you really have to be like, do you really want it? Because if you really want it, you're willing to put in like that time and that energy. And like, you know, it's like for us, it was like an embroidery machine, right? Where we're like, oh, we got an embroidery machine, and you know, you could mess with it and do all that kind of stuff. And I know a bunch of people that have an embroidery machine and they've never done anything with it. It's just collecting dust, you know. But it's like you really have to like almost like set like these goals for yourself and just basically be like, hey, what do you want to do with it? Because for me, it's like I hate wasting money. You know, it's like I want to be able to be like, if like all my sewing machines, they all have paid off for themselves within like a month, you know, except for the embroidery machine. That one took longer, but they all like, they're investments, you know. And just like your program is, it's an investment, you know, to like level yourself up. And it's like, and they're also like one of these like little things where it's like they're treats. Like, you know, for me, like I got another sewing machine, and it was like one of those things where it's like I knew that it could make it a little bit more efficient and it would be quicker, and I just really wanted it too, you know. So it's like they're little like treats to basically be like, it'll make it quicker. I'll really like, I really want it, and it'll make everything like faster. And so it's really about, just knowing that they could always be investments, but you have to put in that time.
Yeah, Claudia uses the fuck out of that sewing machine. I'm surprised it's still, I mean, you use it every single day. That thing is humming. Yeah. So it's like, just if you're going to buy it, use it.
Yeah. It's almost like you need to go getting it before you even have the item. Like if you are planning on getting a camera, like, are you using your phone already right now? Like,
exactly.
If you're not using your phone to take pictures and photos and videos, then are you going to be using that camera? Like, a lot of people tend to put that, like, oh, but I need the thing in order to, like, get there.
But the tool doesn't make, right? Mm-hmm. It's the person.
It's the person. Yeah. It's the person.
And that's, like, that's, like, one of the ways to, like, really, like, hinder someone, right, from, like, actually wanting to start. Because they're like, if I had all this equipment, I would start. And it's like, you're a bullshitter. You wouldn't even fucking start, even if you had all that stuff. Yeah. If you really wanted something, you would work with what you have. Mm-hmm. And it's like really utilizing what you have. It makes you super creative, mm-hmm. And so for me, I was like, you know what? Like, I know I would put that embroidery machine to like good use because I read all the instructions for everything. So I'm like, and Manny would be like, what are you doing? And I'm like in bed, like, oh, reading the chapter of like how to thread the machine, how to do all that stuff. But it's like really utilizing the hell out of the machine. So like that, you're getting your investment back. Yeah. But I think that really just knowing that it's like you don't need something fancy to like really start. Just like start. Yeah. Like actions speak louder than words.
100%. Exactly. So,
yeah. So prior to the opening up Sew Loka and the tailor, you guys were also you guys had a dispensary, right?
Yeah.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
How long was that going before, like, was Ice born during that time, or was Ice
right
born?
after? Right after. Yeah. Ice was born right when we opened Sew Loka, like a few months before we opened Sew Loka and everything like that.
Yeah.
So this was the era of just Claudia and Manny just together, babyless, just trying to figure out life, Yeah. We were really heavily into like the cannabis activism and everything like that.
And I remember you guys got like, you guys went to court, like they raided you.
They tried. Yes. It was just during that very tumultuous time in like 2012 when it was about to become legal, but they were trying their hardest not to make it become legal.
Look at us now.
Exactly. And we were just heavily involved with like, forming groups for dispensaries and on the political side with the ordinances and stuff. So we were always politically involved in San Diego, and maybe that made us a target as well. But, we were just always interested in that side of like, oh shit, we're on the forefront of history with the cannabis part. Like we're making a difference. We're showing a different side of how a dispensary can be, because there was all these false images about it. So then people would see us and we're doing all these cool things at a dispensary, and we formed this community around it. So we felt like that was really changing minds and perspectives. But once that obviously, went to, it just basically ended. It was such a shocking thing for us. And then we had the baby. Like literally, it was like, oh my God, this all happened. And then Ice popped out and they were like, what do we do? It was like, what do we do? What do we do now? But Claudia was like, let's open a handmade store. Yeah. And I for some reason at that time, it sounded like it is a great plan, but it wasn't like that was the, we went from the dispensary to that. We didn't, it wasn't like that was a sure thing that was going to pay all of our bills, or like that was going to be we were going to be able to start a family with that.
Yeah.
So it was pretty, scary.
Hard.
And that's why we shifted to tailoring so quick. Cause we're like, oh my God,
That was my next question. I'm like, cause we're going through it right now. Like, how did you navigate that fear? Like how?
I seriously, like, I think I remember, like having like that fear of like, more as like in a man, right? Like where it's like I was like thinking about like Manny, and it's like, oh my God, like men have to be like this provider, and like there's all these like society kind of like terms and stuff of like, oh now look, you have to watch over Priscilla, and now you have to, and it's like for me, like that was like really difficult to like have to put that weight on my partner to basically be like, now you have to provide for me and like this other baby. And like I've always been like super independent, so like, I know we had the conversation where I was like, we're a team. Like, we're a team, and we're both going to, like work together to, like, get like, where we need to be, because it is hard. And I feel like it was harder. I think it was like, it was difficult because guys don't talk about that, like, feeling of like that weight of like, oh my God, now I have this kid that I'm going to have to, raise and provide for and all these kind of things. And I feel like there's a lot of weight behind that. And there's obviously like with women, but it's like, it is a team effort. And, you just have to basically be like, what's the common goal of the family? Because everything that any kind of decision that we make for like the business or anything like that, we're like, how is this going to affect our family? Because it's like, we still to this day, we're like, all right, we're super involved with the business, but we also have a preteen. And that's scary, So it is one of those things where just communicating about those kind of things. And I'll be totally honest, I think we were probably like a year deep into like Sew Loka, and I had 2 other jobs. So
wow.
I was basically going to like this lady's house to like tailor wedding dresses, and she was like insane. And then I was sewing washable diapers in the morning. So I was going to like this lady's house to tailor dresses from 8 o'clock to like midnight, and then the next day, like from 10 to 12, I was like sewing diapers.
And I was delivering food during the day, and I was working for a legal cannabis company at night. Wow. So that was like a big chunk of years throughout that, just to keep
while still
Sew Loka going.
So
pre-pandemic, pre-pandemic.
So at that point, what was like? So I would imagine like Sew Loka was only open at certain times of day because you guys were still working, right? Or no?
No, because she would do the jobs like after, and I would do the kind of thing. Yeah, so it was.
You would just take turns.
It would
like
take turns.
Yeah. So it was really like, what I thought was like really like what I admire Manny for a lot is that like he was with Ice like during her first years. You know, he was like the dad that was like, we're going to the park, and and he was with her like they were doing like all kinds of fun stuff, and I felt like that like really like made their like bond really strong. And like they would come by and like and then he would call me and he would be like, all right, get home, this has been like a super long day. And so I would show up, and then he would go deliver Thai food for a few hours, and then I would be like, okay, you have to be home like at 8. So he would do it for like 3 hours. I would then go and like tailor wedding dresses, and then be back at like 12. And then in the morning, I would do from like 10 to 12, like this diaper thing, and then open the shop at like 12 and be there from like 12 to 5. And
that's why when the whole pandemic thing happened, we were ready to shift, dude. Like we were ready. It was just because that's what I'm saying. Like, when the time is right. Like, like, oh shit, like we've been wanting this, doing all this bullshit, just to keep the fire kindled, so it's like either now or never. Imagine if we didn't do it. Yeah. So. But go back to the previous question, I think like there's just something about it where when just because I think time wise too, we've been through a lot of shit.
Yeah. Can I ask, what, if anything, carried over? Like what did you learn from the cannabis business that like maybe, eased or helped you, with Sew Loka or didn't? Like
just the hustle mentality, of just making things work, the sales, everything like that. And also just the fact that the people that came in to buy cannabis, they bought cannabis because the product made them feel something. Yeah. So that was the only reason. They love cannabis so much because it gives them, it just makes them feel a euphoric kind of way. So it's like we always wanted to somehow make the product that we're giving make somebody feel that same type of way. Cannabis, it's hard to replicate cannabis, but I think you could do certain things. You can put the story behind it. You could give extra details about the clothing and everything to at least get close to that same feeling you get when you smoke cannabis. Just having that feeling, just getting a feeling when you put something on. I think that's what I learned from the customers coming in there.
I love that.
That's the first time I heard that.
You've heard that before. It's been on another podcast before. Come on, you've heard that before.
This is not first content.
Come on.
I'm getting sloppy.
It's a little reworked. I reworked it a little bit.
I heard it. I felt that. I felt like it was all coming out.
It was.
I was like, whoa, he's passionate.
Yeah, seriously.
Talking about that feeling, I held back a question earlier. I hope it's worth it.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about like when your child is born. Like, and you see them, like you get that immediate, like, it's that instant connection, that instant, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like unconditional love. Is that real?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yes. And the way you see them, you'll see them that the way the rest of their life. The way that you see them when they were born, you'll always, no matter how much ice grows up, I just always see that original picture that I saw, and it's just such a crazy, weird, but cool thing.
I get like, oh my God, I get so emotional because, you remember them as babies and you're like, she was like so sweet and like, and she's still very sweet, but she has like those moments of like, she's like, no, I don't want to cuddle with you. And you're like, what? Or she'll be like, I don't want to, do I have to show you the video? And you're like, what? And so, you get real like emotional because you're like, she's growing up and she's setting boundaries and you're just like, oh, but at the same time, you're like, you're just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like you do feel like you're like, damn, like you brought like that little person into like this world. And I seriously remember every detail of like when she was born, and that was almost like 11 years ago. And, I just remember thinking like, I was there and I was like, Mom, who does she look like? Because there was like a lot of people in that room. And my mom was like, she looks just like Manny. And I was like, wow, but it was.
But she came out of me.
Yeah. I was like, I did all the hard work, but it was like one of those things where you're just kind of like, I always knew I wanted to be a mom, like I was always like, I want to be a mom. And, that was always like the goal for me, And so I was just kind of like, cool, when it happened, it was a little scary because, I took a pregnancy test at the dispensary and that's how I found out that I was like pregnant. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And like, you're scared because you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? But women have been giving birth for a really long time. Yeah. And it's a beautiful experience. And you're just kind of like, you get to see them grow and they're going to be with you forever. Even I'm like 38, about to be 38. And I still call my mom and I'm still like, and so it's for a long time. So you always have like that feeling of like, oh, this is like my baby. And like, I'm always like, she jumped into bed yesterday and she's like, messing around with us. And you're just like, oh, like you won't ever find that love again. Yeah. And she'll ask us, she's like, do you love me more than you love Dad? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Like, for sure. Like, and he should say the same thing. Yes. He should love you more than he loves me.
She is number one. Yes.
But yeah, but
that's crazy. I will, like, I've heard stories where like that love for the child will sometimes like become a divide for like the parents, and like it'll be like a source of contention where it's just like you see certain couples that just don't make it past it because they feel like you don't love me as much as you love our child.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that's like,
it's kind of crazy.
Duh. Like, yeah. You get me? Like, yeah. Fucking duh. Yeah. But yeah.
I think that like the first year is the hardest. For sure, it's the hardest because I remember our relationship, when we had the baby, like, I feel like we've grown so much in like communicating with each other. And like, I felt at that time I was 27 when we had Ice and Manny was 29. So we were still like really young, and I don't think I was like mature enough with like communication to basically be like, this is what I need, and I felt like it was a lot of like mind reading of like, he should know that I need this, and it's you're going into a role that you've never done before. And so it's like just being like ultra patient with those kind of things, right? Where it's like, this role's different for you. It's different for you. And you just got to go into it with like, just like how everyone is. It's a new role for everyone, and just having a lot of like patience for that, because you will be like, oh my God, this is like so different. And it allows for you to grow with everyone, Yeah. So I think it was like one of the hardest times for us, but
only because it was new. That's what I'm saying. Only because it's new, but you guys adjust to it and you roll with it and you.
Yeah.
It's only because it's new. Other than that, it's like, you're just adding like a +1.
Yeah.
That's all it is, But other than that, it's like we had like a really like, I remember I would, be with the baby during the day, and then, Manny in the middle of the night, he would wake up and like feed the baby. He's like, I got it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so we just kind of knew, and like we would be like, okay, like you're doing that, I'm doing this, cool. And, it was just really cool to like see her grow so fast. And then you're just like, whoa, this baby's like now about to be 11.
Yeah.
I know. It's like,
She'll be working in the shop soon.
yeah. She started today.
Not kidding.
And she did not like
kidding.
it.
But at least, a couple of hours, it's a total wasted opportunity to not have her in here just a couple of hours, just learning just at least being curious about what we do or the machines or any of that kind of stuff.
You guys make it really easy to like see that it's fucking awesome. You get me? Like you guys are throwing events. You guys are it's not like you just are selling clothing. You get me? Like you are selling an experience.
But to her, she sees it as boring, I think, right? But she's just so close to it. She doesn't know anything else. So she's just like, she's tired of us talking about Sew Loka all the time.
Okay.
Because it's like, that's her sibling.
That's, wow. Yes. I was getting into that,
that's like, that is like something that it's like, it is another thing that like we put a lot of time and energy into.
Do you ever feel like bad about that? Do you ever feel
especially like as a mom, like you're just kind of like, because I think she was like 5 or 6 when she stopped coming to the shop because we had moved to the back. So from like when she was, I think maybe she was like more like 7 or 8 when she stopped coming into the shop, but she was with me. Like I would pick her up from school when she was like 3, and like she would be in the studio and she would do homework. And I had like a big cutting table like this, and it had wood all the way around, and she would take naps under it. And it was one of those things where you felt so bad just being like, she's sleeping there and you're like trying to run a business, so it's hard because you're making like all these sacrifices, and you're just like, I hope that like she could see all that, so I think like as a mom you kind of like think about like, is this like really what you want to do? And like, just watching her there and you're like, why can't she have like a normal childhood, so it is like, it does like kind of like mess with you in a way, where you're like, but then it's like, you're also like, she lives such an interesting life, she's got like, all these people that she's like really connected to, and like,
Plus she lives behind the shop. We live behind the shop, so it's just so close. She's always right here. It's not like we're traveling 6 months on the road and she's with a babysitter or something like that. Like she's always by us. Even if she's not in the shop, our house is right there. So we're always back and forth, going back and forth. I think she probably feels a lot of pressure in the shop. Her mom sews and everything like that. Everybody's like always asking her like, hey, little Loka, like, how are you at the sewing machine? How are you? Yeah. So it's even a lot of pressure to even put your hands on the sewing machine because you're always going to be compared. Yeah. So we don't ever want, we're just cautious with that. She loves drawing, which is something totally different. And her drawings are getting better and better and better. And so we just kind of try to nurture that. But we still want her to get curious, just to come in for a couple hours, just to kind of help us fold shirts. Yeah. Because I think that's just good work ethic. No matter what business we were doing, like to have her involved in something with us, is just
Are you guys planning on like paying her and like giving her?
No, but you know what? To go back to like the emotional part of it, we never had to like have like someone raise her, right? Like we never had to be like, we have to drop her off at daycare. Like we never had that. And I think that we had talked about that where I was like, if I want to have a kid, like I want to be with my kid all the time. Yeah. And like that was like the beautiful thing about like having the studio is that like, yeah, maybe she was sleeping there and she didn't have like this, whatever normal childhood is, but it's like we were always with her all the time. There wasn't like a moment where we're like, we have to go and drop her off and
that's a lot to say compared to like what other people are living the normal lifestyle. It's like, oh yeah, I just go to after school. Oh yeah, I just go to this, and like they only know their parents in like small chunks of day.
Exactly.
And so I think honestly, you guys are doing everything the right way in your own way. Like I feel like there is no right way now. I feel like we all look to what this typical American dream is, and I feel like we're living in a special time where like we are setting those bounds. Yeah. And I think it's also powerful that she gets to see you guys start something. You get me?
Yeah.
I think as she gets older, I hope that like she disconnects the fact that like it is a sewing company and that it's a dream.
Yeah.
And that she can apply this same work ethic to whatever her dream is.
When she has that dream, maybe we'll give her the courage. She can think in the back of the mind, oh, my mom and dad did it. Whatever that little takes to do it, you know, that she can, like you said, she can apply that to whatever her dream is. It doesn't have to be our dream. Whatever her dream is, she just has to see that you can, through hard work, get to a point where you can at least try to grab it, you know, like get to that fucking, you know, so that it's possible, you know. So that's what we want to instill in her. You know, no matter what it is, not trying to define what it is, but just that you can fucking do it.
Yeah.
And the world's just getting more accessible. Things are getting easier. AI is allowing people to start whole companies by them damn selves.
Yeah.
And I feel like, especially as she grows up in this world, like she's going to be able to like grasp onto these things, and you guys can help her, like, not necessarily skip some of the lessons that you've learned, but expedite them.
Oh,
You get me?
Yeah.
So I think that's beautiful. I think that's powerful.
Yeah.
Talking about that, something I've been wanting to talk. I mean, I feel like I'm talking questions. Do you have a question, babe? I'm like, I feel like I'm just.
I mean, like, you know, I'm listening a lot just because I feel like I could learn a lot from you guys. Because, you know, a lot of things you're talking about is things we've talked about. Like, you know, when the baby's born, you know, on the baby registry, we have like baby carriers because it's like, okay, we can take her to shoots, you know, like, or take him to shoots. I'm talking like it's a girl. Oh, no, right? Like, you know, it's, and we've talked about it, like, you know, would we bring the child with us? Would we put it in a daycare? Or like, you know, just thinking about it now, like, oh shit, like it's coming soon. Like right now, 25 weeks, it's 15 weeks, maybe even less away. So it's a
It'll be here soon.
Yeah, it's a countdown.
Super soon.
You know, and you know, I was, because you said you had ice like just a couple months after she was born, correct?
Yeah.
So like in my head, I'm just thinking,
couple months
like,
after she was born. You mean by after Sew Loka was born?
no, after Ice was born, they started Sew Loka, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She was
yeah.
5 months
Yes.
when we were like doing
Yeah.
all the construction
Yeah.
and getting it all together. But one of the things that like I really like felt like I lost myself as like just like an individual like that first year, you know, because I was like, how am I supposed to be as a mom? Like
Yeah.
I can't be like this. Like I can't be wearing my little dresses anymore. I can't, like, you know, your body changes and you're like, ooh, you feel different, you know, and you're just kind of like, who am I? And you're like catering to like not just like a baby, but like also like maintaining a relationship, you know, and so you kind of forget about I forgot about myself for a little bit, you know, and it was one of those things where it's like I really wanted to like make sure that we didn't have to adjust our life for someone coming into it, because it was one of those things where it's like, look, the baby will go everywhere that you go, and you don't want to have like this feeling of like resentment because you couldn't do these things because you're starting a family, and like
You might have to make a few adjustments, but you don't have to resign. You know what I mean? Like that's what I think you're saying, right? I mean, we have to make adjustments, but you don't have to like totally switch up your whole life plan for just because a baby's coming. You're like, oh my god, security. Your mind goes to, oh my god, security.
I'm not gonna lie, a nice paycheck, like it looks fucking nice to me about right now, but I'm just afraid of like going down that slippery slope of just like getting back into corporate, and just
it's very
getting locked
slippery,
up.
right?
It's fucking slippery as fuck. Like the checks look nice, and then the time gets taken away from you, and then it's just like a live studio hoop. And I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid of losing the progress and everything that we've done. You know, I very much see a live studio like our baby right now. Yeah, I mean, and then we also got Sadie too. So it's just like, I'm going through the feels. I'm definitely going through it, but I also feel my body changing. I feel, you know, it's easier for me to, you know, take action on certain things that I've been like lingering on. Like I've been changing my relationship with weed, and it's been fucking with me, man. I've been feeling all the emotions and then some. She'll tell you, like it's real. And I just realized that I was like using weed to like cover up a lot of things. But yeah, like with this baby on the way, I'm excited to, you know, I'm still trying to grow out of this like reactive state. I'm trying to react less in my emotions and just like, you know, I'm still trying to grow out of that, like something happens and then my whole day gets ruined type of thing. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping, and like I feel my body changing, but I'm hoping that when this child finally gets here, it just becomes easier and easier because I see their little face, and you know, I know emotions and things rub off on them, and I know that's gonna eat me alive.
It's crazy because they hear everything because she's a vessel, you know, so she's soaking everything in, and so all that kind of stuff. So I remember having the conversation. I was like really huge, like I was really big because I ate everything. And I remember I was telling Manny, I was like, I'm not gonna fight with you, and I'm just gonna be happy. And he was like, okay. And so I was like, I'm only gonna be happy. And so anytime like there was like some kind of argument, I would be like, I'm only happy. And you're just like trying to like get out of it, you know. But it is one of those things where it's like, we've always like seen like ICE as a motivator, you know, like we're like, all right, like that's motivation right there to basically be like, what are the things that we want for her to be able to like experience, for her to be able to like have, for her to have these like awesome memories of, you know. And they're motivators. They're like, oh damn, like my parents are freaking, you know, like this, you know. And so for her, she'll see it as like, you know what, if my parents did it, like I know I could do it.
Yeah.
You know. And it is it could be difficult, but it's like you have such a good support system, you know. And I'm glad that you're really like acknowledging like these feelings and all that kind of stuff, because men usually don't talk about it, you know. And that's really a very toxic thing, you know. And men should talk about it more, because that's where the conversation with like Manny, where I was like, I don't want you to feel like you're a sole provider. Like this is a team effort, you know. And really like understanding that it's like not all the weight falls on you. Yeah. And this is like a perfect opportunity for you to remember that it takes a village to raise a child. Yeah. And so it's like you have us as like, you know, a support system. You have other friends, you have family, and when you do, you know, have like the baby and all that kind of stuff, that's where you lean in on us, you know, for us to basically be like, hey, how can we like be there? How can we help? And sometimes it's just going out to get like something to drink and just talking about things, because it will get, you know, sometimes you'll be like, I was up until this time at night, and it will get hard, but it's worth it. You know,
that's the main thing. It's just worth it.
Yeah.
But it is hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah. You know, so yeah.
You'll
be fine.
Yeah, 100%. You guys can do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
You already did the hard part.
Getting someone pregnant with that.
That is crazy.
That's a miracle. That
is a miracle.
The universe was just like, right now seems like a great time. Just let's do it.
Dude, ICE was like a drunken karaoke night.
Yeah, I was singing Daddy Yankee, I think, right?
Yeah, I was like, wow.
Right? Que paso, paso. And it was over. It was over.
No, I was like, let's go home. Yeah. And I was, you know, I was a party girl in LA. Like I was like always out, and I like really like enjoyed going out and doing all that kind of stuff. And then I was like, you know, I remember my sister was like, how are you like pregnant? And I was like, I don't know. And I remember leaving the hospital. I was like, how are they letting us leave with the baby? You know, because you're like, do they know? You know? And so, but it is like one of those things where it's like, you know, I have videos of her, and she's like, she would wake up and she would be like smiling, and, you know, and you're like, oh my God, like this is such a blessing, you know? And so, yeah, it's just, it's an amazing feeling to basically be able to be like, that's like my little spawn. You know, and you're just like, and they'll like, yeah, and then everything that they do, you're like, I'm so proud of you, you know, and you're just like, and every moment is like a beautiful moment, you know, so Yeah. Even now, you're like, she's kind of like a jerk, but she's like, it's a beautiful moment, you know? So,
She's a good jerk, but she
Yeah.
gets it from me, so it's like.
she's setting boundaries.
Bro, boundaries are so important. I mean, we were, I think the last episode, and I just posted a clip today about like how much should you shelter your child, if any. And I think the clip was like around the fact that like there are a lot of kids that are raising kids today, and you know, it's like you definitely want your child to like not be hurt, not be thing, but you also want them to be able to stand up for themselves because you know in the real world you can't control those situations.
Yeah.
Could you guys like please, if any, like give me any like
So
advice on that?
I was always like against her having like a social media or a phone or any of that kind of stuff, and Manny was more like,
Was she an
should.
iPad baby?
I don't think she was like more of an iPad baby.
It was an iPad like drawing kind of thing. So we'd always kind of make sure, there was like drawing or some creativity going on and everything like that. But, I'm obviously not naive about social media. I know it's a cesspool. I know it could be a cesspool. Yeah. But I mean, I do see the duality side of it, that it can, that's why we have Sew Loka, and it gave us all the opportunities to reach people all over the world.
You guys are building community with it.
With social media, exactly. So we don't want to ever raise her to fear technology or to fear AI or to fear this or to fear, everybody's so scared of everything. It's like, no, just see these things as tools and opportunities and everything like that. And it's a mindset thing. So we don't ever want to shelter her too much. But then, of course, everybody has their own limits of regulation, but we're definitely not over sheltering her. No. You can't watch this. You can't say this. You can't see this. Making everything forbidden fruits. It's like, hell no. It's like, dude, all we can hope is that she's a good person. She laughs a lot. She finds absurdity in life, and that she has a dream. She finds it. It's like the big things. I can't control a lot of the little things. Like we just want to make sure she has her head on right. Yeah. But trying to protect her from life is just doing her a disservice.
Yeah. That's
like, do you guys like do like the parent thing in terms of like watching her screen time or like making sure she can't access certain sites, or like is it like you trust her?
I don't think I would ever say, there's trust to a limit. I mean, when you're a parent, it's like being a manager at a store. I mean, you could trust someone, but you have to double check.
Yeah.
You always have to. But I think what we could do is just we try to limit her time. So even during the summertime, like she wakes up still at a certain time. She has her breakfast. She comes in here a little bit. She tries to do a little bit of chores. So when it seems like 5 or 6 o'clock comes around, then there's a few hours of, you could call your friend or have an iPad or have the TV on. But just trying to get her to see that, okay, you have to put in some work first. There has to be some sort of effort. You have to break a sweat before you get what you want. Yeah. So just trying to show her that, but definitely not over regulating, everything that she watches or every movie. I mean, I love my parents. So, like they took me to see all the movies when I was 9, 10. I remember seeing Pulp Fiction on opening day. I was 10. I didn't even know what it was. They just wanted to see it so bad. So it's like I was there front row, and it was like my mind was blown, But that
came out there saying, "Motherfucker!"
right. Exactly. But I always knew like my parents gave me the privilege to watch those things. So it's like I'm not gonna curse around them. So it's like these little things where it's like, oh, you let me do that, so I'm just not going to blow it by just starting to repeat all these words and shit like that. Like I was going to play it cool, because they gave me those extra little things that I like bragging rights around friends, because none of my other friends saw Pulp Fiction at 10. They didn't even know what the fuck it was, but then I got to be like, oh, this, and this. So, but it was cool. It was cool. So, and not that I turned out perfect, but
I think you did.
No, but it's just, I just don't want to. And regulating it's I would feel like such a hypocrite sometimes, like regulating her screen time when I'm editing all these Sew Loka videos all day long, and my screen time saying you've been on 11 hours today or this and that. So it's like I need to regulate my own fucking screen time.
Yeah.
Before. But yeah, obviously, yeah.
She's a really good kid. Like she's very smart. She gets good grades, and she just needs to be managed a little bit, and she does great. And she's a great reader, great writer. She's done like a lot of like really cool stuff. And I was really scared because I fucking cuss a lot, and I'll say some really like crazy stuff. And she'll be like, you know, and like, you know, earlier today she's like on the like iPad, like, you know, talking to like one of her friends, and she's like, I'm like, hey cutie with the booty, and she's like, Mom, I'm on the screen time thing, you know, and I was like, oh, she's like, say hi to my friend, and I was like, hey, it's for horses, you know, and she's like, what? You know, and so she's just kind of like, what the heck, you know, but I really was like, because kids, they'll repeat anything, you know, and so I was really concerned that like, oh my god, I say like so many bad words and all that kind of stuff, and she does not like, she will not like say any of
At least around us.
around us, she won't
So
say
she
any
learned
of
that
it.
lesson.
Yeah, so she's very like, you know, and like there'll be like a time where like she'll read something and it'll slip out and she'll be like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, you know, don't tell dad, and you know, things like that. But you know, she's a good kid, you know, so that's where we're just kind of like, she gets like little freedoms and, you know, things like that. And
as long as she stays a kid, that's the thing. Like if you're a good kid, you get privileges.
Yeah.
You know,
we've talked about like the whole cursing thing, and
Technology
for me,
too.
like I don't know, like I know like I curse a lot. I see it as just like it's language, it's a way to express yourself, and I feel like there's a line in the sand between like cursing at someone and cursing someone out, and like cursing out of reaction for something where it's like you eat a cookie and you're like, damn, that's fucking good, like
it's putting emphasis
you get
on a word.
and it's just like I'm totally fine with that. Like I think like I'm okay with those things. I just don't want ever it to come out in a place where it's like, fuck you, you get me, like
malicious.
So yeah, we've talked about it.
And then the same thing with technology. Like we went back and forth a little bit about it because like it's kind of like what you said, like you know, kind of against like you know phones, like iPads and all of that, but like in a sense of where I don't want our child to be where I see a lot of other even like babies where like, and this is no shade because you know, being a parent is overwhelming, and sometimes you just need you need your child to be occupied and you need mental space. But I want to like find other ways for our child to learn to occupy themselves besides scrolling on YouTube or just clicking on things and just having a screen in front of their face. You know, like I want technology to be used for like creativity, drawing, learning, FaceTiming their grandma who's going to be in New York. Like that's a beautiful use of technology. I just want to make sure that we do have that line in the sand with technology, and where it's just not like, oh, I'm bored, I'm going to take a mom and dad's phone, I'm going to go and just get the iPad and I'm just going to be on YouTube all day. Like I just want to make sure we like have an understanding of just like, let's make sure on like how they're learning to occupy their brain. Like I want them to be like, oh, I'm bored, like let me like, you know, go outside and draw, let me like go and like create something, or let me go and like learn something new. I know like that's, you know, all of us, we've had memories of being like a child and just being like, I'm bored, like, you know, like I just want to turn on the TV, or I just want to, like, there's still, a child is definitely going to have those needs, but like also we talked about how but we remember the times where like we weren't on TV, we were just pretending like, you know, we're in a jungle in our room, or we're having toys and pretend. Like just, you know, just having that imagination. So I just want to make sure there's still that balance.
Nah, and it's hard to like, because you know that they're going to be put in situations where other kids are living that lifestyle, and they, you know, you don't know how they're being made to feel. Oh, you don't got an iPad? Like, you broke.
She's definitely that kid where she's like, do you have a phone? And then there's kids that are like, no. And she's like, ooh, how am I going to keep in touch with them? And I'm like, well, I don't know, you know. But it's really interesting because it's like times have changed, right? So for me, I feel like the iPad for me was TV. You know, it's like that was like the TV. Like, you know, my parents were like, just watch some TV, and then so you would just watch TV, and you know, that was it. And like we would go outside and do all that stuff, but most of the time he would be like, I'm bored, and you're like, okay, watch some TV.
For me, it was movies. My parents were totally okay with me. They would buy me tons of VHSs, and they didn't say there was any problem with me just watching movie after movie after movie, just popping it in and just kind of watching it. And they were like, oh, he's just learning about movies. But I feel like if I would have had YouTube back then, I probably would have been watching movies on YouTube kind of thing. So it's like, I think that people are just, even kids are looking to be entertained. And there's just so much really good entertainment out there.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, you know, it's not like they're looking for a bad thing. They just want to be entertained. But you're right. Regulation has to come in some way. But for every parent, it's different. But everybody has to find their flow with it. How much, you know, because it's your iPad. You can always say, take it away.
Yeah.
You're like, let's go to the park. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's do
away.
that. You know? So you gave it to them. You could take it away. But
we took it away the other day, yesterday.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I definitely have, like, you know, little, like, younger family members, and I see them, and it's just like the whole day they're on their phone. Or even, like, I tell them about a show or a movie, like, oh, have you seen this? Oh, I don't watch movies, it's too long. Oh, I don't watch TV shows, that's like a lot.
Oh, I saw that on TikTok.
Yeah, I love that show. So it's like, oh, you actually watched that show? No, I watched, like, the scenes on TikTok, and it's like, oh.
But imagine a kid growing up now, and he looks around and he just sees all the adults doing it too. It just seems like, because the adults are just as bad as the kids.
Exactly.
So it's like a kid growing up now doesn't know any different. And he's like, well, how can a parent tell when they're always on their phone too? They're always on their phone. Everybody I see is on their phone. So it's like, it seems like it's a bigger problem. Like just everyone. It's affecting everyone.
Yeah, like I talked about that. I was just like, we can, like, say whatever we want our child to do, but if we're not modeling those same things, it's gonna go out the window.
And that kid is just waiting for that moment, because we all had it as teenagers where you flip it right back on your parents, the thing that they're doing wrong. You just call them out, and now they're gonna call us out on shit. Because we all are doing something. You know, we're not all perfect, so it's like, you know.
Did you ever call out Carmen?
Probably. I can't think of it right now, but yeah, you're always just ready to be like, you didn't do this right, you know. And you're probably right, but you're still a dick for doing it. It's your mom. It's like, come on, fuck.
I'm glad that you could acknowledge
right
it now. You know,
now I can.
Yeah.
No, I think it's also important to see like what I want to do is like stop the mindless scrolling, and I think I want to embody like how we use social media similar to how you guys do, which is like to build a community. Like I think I want them to know that like this can be used as a tool to, like, you know, it's the modern day like storefront.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's how people discover others. So I think I definitely want to like still work on myself, still work on like the mindless scrolling. But yeah, I was leading into another question about like schooling, technology, AI, as things are starting to like pick up. And, you know, I've always had like strong opinions on like school and how like it's very much just still a memorization, you know, place where you're training little factory workers. And the truth is like we don't live in that world anymore. I'm interested to get your opinion on how you guys feel about that. There are some changes coming down the way. Like we were talking about it the other day. Japan is now starting to implement AI within schools, and they're using it as a means to like lessen the workload on teachers. And they're mainly teaching kids how to work with AI, how to use AI and prompt it in a way that like services them in whatever like problem they're actively trying to solve. They're seeing great results. They're seeing like upwards of like 70% of like kids paying more attention and actually learning, because these AI tools can be whatever they want. If the kid wants to learn from SpongeBob, they can learn from SpongeBob. So I'm interested to get your opinion on that. Like, I feel like, especially with this next election coming up, like we're gonna start asking ourselves some tougher questions. Like, is schooling necessary? Can we afford to like have every parent like be able to homeschool themselves? You get me? So yeah, I'm interested.
Well, homeschooling would sound pretty tough.
Yeah.
I think just...
I'm not a teacher of math or...
I think teaching is a skill.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know if everybody can do it. You know, I think there's obviously a lot of tools now that make it easier for it, but I just going for based on us, that I think it would be super difficult to have her at home. So it's like I still go the route of school and everything like that, her picking out a good school. But I don't, I don't mind her going to a public school, or anything like that. It doesn't need to be like, the school is perfect and it has the perfect kids in it. I think she can go to a school and make it what it is, So, yeah, I'm definitely not anti school, but then I also understand like trade schools, the importance of that and learning skills and hands-on and everything like that. But I don't, it's a tough question because I do think that there is just learning history and stuff like that. I know that's just kids going to school, and I know there's lectures and memorization and everything like that, but just, I guess, learning the context of where we are at this moment. I think sometimes kids get out of school and they don't even know like the context of how we got here, and they want to change things and solve things. And it's like, well, if you would have studied a little bit of history, that's already been tried. Yeah. So that part of it, I don't want to lose that part of it, of just studying all the history that we've built up. Yeah. But yeah, things are changing, and it's like you said, the AI and everything like that. It's only going to help us. So it's like, I would never want her to be like, oh my God, don't use that, or it's plagiarism, or it's cheapening and this and that. It's like, it's what you make it. There was a time pre-Google. Now we can Google everything, and now we know everything in a second. But there was a time pre-Google. Yeah. And just like we lived in time of this pre-open AI, this and that, now we're So it's like the world is constantly changing. Yeah. So it's like, it'd be ridiculous to fight against that.
Yeah. Can I ask, do you still think that, my bad.
No, you're fine.
I was going to ask, do you still think that college is necessary?
I didn't go to college, so no.
I agree.
But I think that with like education, it's really my whole thing is like, we have to go back to the basics, like we should be having like home ec, we should be having like all these things, we should be teaching kids how to balance a checkbook. Most people don't know how to manage their own money. Most people, obviously now we don't have to write checks, so we don't have to do that. But most people, they don't know how to do their taxes. They don't know how to like manage their money. They don't know how to open up a bank account, none of that kind of stuff. And those things are essential for living, cooking, like being able to like cook an egg should be like an essential skill, where it's like you learn these things, and not because it's like you're going to be a cook, but because you're going to be home by yourself, and you're going to basically be like, what is in like the fridge and what is in the pantry and what can you make? And I feel like education for me has always been like, I hated school. I skipped school all the time. Like, I never wanted to be there. Like, I didn't go to like a school where they were like, oh wow, all the kids have to do great because we all feel they're going to have a bright future. Like, no one cared, we were more statistics of getting them out. And so for me, that whole thing was that I didn't put much effort into it. I got great grades and everything, but it wasn't, they weren't teaching me at like the style that I wanted to learn. Yeah. I'm hands-on. Like, if you're showing me how to do something like that we could do like hands-on, I'm going to be interested. If it's not hands-on, like, I don't want to sit there and read a book about something that is not interesting to me. Yeah. And I feel like every kid is different, and it's really about like figuring out like, how does this kid learn better? Yeah. And some kids, they learn better, by being in a classroom setting, and they're very like, they could read the book and they could do all that kind of stuff. And some kids, they're just kind of like, are spacey and not challenged, and so I feel like it's really going to the basics of like skills, like giving people like true skills to basically, for them to basically be able to like fend for themselves, like just that.
But college, to answer your question, it's not a necessity, but it is a luxury, as in that if you do have enough time and money and everything like that, you should, I think, go to school. Like, I think that there is value there. Even if it's a book that's not interesting to you, like, I do think that there is, for thousands of years, there's been colleges and all this stuff, and they've been, sought after and everything like that. Like, I don't think that all that just goes away. Yeah. Like, I think there is a power in that education, and it's just about knowing just things, You know, so it's like I don't think we should just all aspire to just fend for ourselves. Like skills, yes, you know, this and that, but there is like an enlightenment thing where we just by education, we all the civilization, you know, becomes enlightened. So I think that it's not a necessity. Like obviously you can make it in this world without college, but if there's a chance afterward in your later life to like you're able to take some time, like I don't think there's anything wrong with sitting down and learning about our past.
Yeah. I think like my opinion, because we've definitely we talk about this a lot. Like I did well in school. Like I always try to make sure I got straight A's, but it was more of just like to be the good girl, you know? But did I actually enjoy school? No. Did I actually retain anything I learned? No. I just knew how to work the system to get that A. I knew what I had to do to make sure that I was a good girl. But I was daydreaming in class all the time. I was always thinking about other things and then paying attention when I needed to. I think that with this AI stuff, I think it can take care of a lot of the, or make us think about education differently, where it's not just memorization and you get an A.
Mhm.
It's not just like, oh, you know the facts, you know you're doing well. Like it's more just like having critical thought, critical thinking, problem solving, learning new skills, but also learning how to apply things. Like reading a book that truly matters and is really trying to like push. It's not just because it's like, oh, it's a well-known classic. No, but like let's get into the root of why we're reading this book. And I feel like a lot of that is lost in education. It's more just like, oh, you read this book because you have to read this book. Like no, like you know, there's like some books where like as an adult, like or I learned about and I was just like, oh, I remember we had to read that book in school. And now as an adult I understand why that book is important. But I feel like in school it wasn't really shown that way. So I hope that with, you know, with AI and all these things coming out, or just even the internet, just realizing like children don't need to memorize things if they can just look it up. Let's teach children how they can apply all this knowledge that is so easily accessible. And also, like college, no, I don't think it's a necessity. But if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, or if you want to become an expert in archaeology and learning something, I think college is beautiful if you want to learn it that way. But yes, like it is a luxury. It's expensive. Currently, how it is, honestly, I think college should be free. But currently, it's not. And it's just like, yes, you could go online if you have to, you know, strengthen your skills. I think there's so many online academies that are coming out. There's so much like online schooling. And if that works for you, that works for you. I think we should just have a lot more options of education, not just public school. Like, yes, children learn differently. You know, we're learning about Montessori schools and how they don't do grading. And they more of just like, they don't even have kids of like one age group. They have it like grouped in similar age groups. And then just seeing how they learn, seeing what they're interested in. Oh, they're really interested in music. Let's surround them in music. Oh, they're really good at math. Let's surround them with that.
And they'll give them like projects to like work with other kids who are specialized in other things, which is like, that's what we do in the real world now.
Yeah.
So I definitely love that like train of thought. Like,
yeah, let's just, you know, let's not just assume school needs to be one certain way, and let's really help out these kids.
That's the conversation that we've been having with like middle school, you know, because we're like, okay, she's gonna go into like this middle school, and so we're like, do we want her to go into like this creative school, you know, where she's basically gonna be all project based, you know, and she's gonna really have to like, you know, it's not going to be, they're not going to have homework. They're going to basically have to do like research and have to work within like a team setting and all that, you know, and building relationships, you know, and that is like, that's a life skill, like building relationships, like, you know, all that kind of stuff, working in like a group setting, doing all that. And so for us, we're like, I mean, this would be great, you know, and we really want her to go into like something like that. But we're also like, okay, like, is this going to also like be strong with math and science and all the other stuff? And so it is one of those things where it's like, I don't think that like when I had ice was like ready for all of that. So you're like, oh my God, what are we thinking about like middle school? So it's a lot, but it's also one of those things where you're like,
Yeah, because you're thinking like, because Ice is super creative, do you want to put her in an environment that's super creative too, or do you want her to have the balance of like more of, does somebody creative need the balance of a strict environment? Yeah. Like, so you're questioning in your head, do I surround her with more creativity, or will that make her more daydream more? Or does a daydreamer need a little bit of structure, even though they don't want it? Do you have to give them something they don't want to make them better? Yeah. Like, so we don't know. Like, we want her to go the creative path, like, okay, do this, everything project based, but then we also know she's super, she's just dreamy like us kind of thing. So it's like, who knows what the right path is. So eventually you just have to go with your gut. But I don't know. I think probably giving somebody who's creative a little bit more structure when they're young might be a good thing. And because they're going to break out of it sometime anyway, but just, at that age, I think that you give them what they don't want. It's like an opposite thing. I don't know. I have no idea. Like I said, I try not to give advice. Yeah. Because
more of the stories, you're gonna just fuck them up. Period. So just instead of having like a college fund, have like a therapy fund.
Yeah,
for real. I like that.
Because it's like, because I feel like we parent the way that like our parents. Like the opposite of what our parents were, so then you're just kind of like, oh my God, I hate this about like how my parents parented me. And then you're like, well, what if we're being too soft? And like, what if, because it's like, it gave us like amazing work ethic, and it made us like into these strong individuals that were like so passionate about stuff. And then you're like, wait, are we messing her up? What's happening? So you're just kind of like, so there is going to be that moment where you're like, all right, well, she'll have some kind of issue later on where she's like, my parents were too soft on me, or I don't know. But yeah, that's the part where you're just kind of like, you're just doing the best that you can, and there's no manual.
Yeah.
God damn.
Dang it.
I know. Damn it.
That's a perfect, I think I'll leave it right there. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Episode.
Both.
Before
awesome.
we get going, I do want to give you the stage to talk about anything you're doing, anything you're working on. Mm-hmm. We'll trigger your lower thirds. Manny, could you like step up just a little more? No, not all the way. Just you were
like a little this way.
Yeah, there you go. Just so you can like have yourself fully in frame, and just anything you want. Talk to that camera. Let people know what you're up to.
We just finished an art show, but I would say, Claudia, what do you want to do next? Just say it out loud right now. No. Not an event. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do?
You're putting me on the
Come on, I want to know it, just so you could, even if we haven't done it yet, even if you haven't said it, just so you've thought about it, just say it, just so we can put it out here.
I just want to make a bunch of cool stuff and have it on the racks and like just sew and sew and sew and sew and not stop sewing. So
when you say cool stuff, like what?
We're working on a lot of like really fun projects. We actually just recently hired our first employee, which was our intern. Yay. So she's a high school student.
Remember, we've been talking about that for a while.
Yeah.
That was like 2022 goals, but we pushed it over to 2023, but it couldn't have been a better person because like she's interned with us twice already, 2 years, 11th grade, 12th grade. She just graduated and now she works at Sew Loka.
That's so dope.
So we're really excited to have her, and she thinks that the shop is like the happiest place on earth, and she doesn't understand why Ice doesn't want to be here. But she's awesome, and like we've been working on a lot of like really cool production stuff, and she's just I feel like this is like a time for me to basically like really like step it up and just kind of like utilize her for more, because her role is to do production. But we're working on a lot of like really fun projects.
Late October. I know it's a while away, but we're starting to plan it now. That's going to be Sew Loka's first official like fashion show, like just Sew Loka, like boom, 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 start to finish outfits.
Hosted here?
It's going to be hosted at a location not here.
Okay.
But by here.
Okay.
Can't say it yet, but it's going to be by here, and it's going to be way bigger.
We talking about like runway? What are we talking?
It's going to be a spin.
Okay.
It's not going to exactly be runway. It's going to be the Sew Loka spin on a fashion show. It has to be a little bit out of the box, a little bit unexpected, but we honestly have no idea what it's going to be yet, but it's going to be something like that.
I love it.
Yeah. But we're excited. Manny's birthday is on Saturday.
Oh, that's right. I turned 40.
Happy early birthday.
40. That's like a big birthday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then she's turning 38 on Sunday.
Yeah.
So we're 2 years apart, but back-to-back birthdays. But
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And we actually got married on Manny's birthday, so
yeah, so there's a little bit of an anniversary happening on Saturday too.
Okay.
yeah.
I know a lot, and then 10 years married. So I'm basically gonna be proposing to Claudia soon. Not like it's not gonna be this weekend or anything. I don't want to get your hopes up because I fucking just give me a little more time. Give me a little more time. But yeah, because 2024 makes it 10 years of marriage. So that we always told ourselves like we didn't have a huge celebration when we first got married, but we're like if we can make it 10 years, that's when we celebrate.
Yeah,
Oh, I
You
I
know?
remember you said
Yeah.
like the community competition. You guys kind of saw that as like a wedding, right?
Yeah.
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 Hell yeah. Hell
That was
yeah.
dope. That was
But
dope.
this is the other one's actually going to be Claudia's going to be in a dress. There's going to be music and there's going to be,
Oh my God.
and yeah, hopefully it will be here like in San Diego, so not everybody has to travel or anything. So,
Shit,
but yeah, that's going to be 2024. I know we're going way in the future,
bro.
but
It's around the
Oh,
corner.
it's around the corner.
Yeah.
I mean, the baby's here in October.
I know you're right.
and it's
October's
like-
a far away. I was like, not that far.
Not that far, right?
But we have a lot of cool stuff happening. Did you want to talk about like the next event that we're going to be doing?
Yeah, so basically we still have to get all the details finalized, so going to be very, very vague. But for Thrift Store Day, National Thrift Store Day, August 17th, we're going to be collabing with the Wonder Museum in downtown. They just opened up. They're an immersive museum, super, super cool museum. We're going to be doing a Sew Loka collab with them August 17th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Like I said, there's a lot planned, but you'll hear about it in the future. I don't want to say any details now, but just teasing it, it's going to be awesome.
It is going to be awesome.
Anything else? Thank you guys. That
Yeah,
was
thank
awesome.
you,
Just let the
guys.
people know where they can find you.
Oh, Sewloka.com.
Sewloka.com.
Awesome. Awesome.
We deliver.
That was great.
Thank
Thank
you
you
guys.
so much, everybody.
Yes.
We will see you all in the next episode of How to Copy and Steal. And low key, this wasn't planned. But take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.